Hello and welcome to the application guide for optional practical training presented by LaSalle College's Office of International Services. This presentation will assist you in applying for optional practical training, better known as OPT. In this presentation, we will discuss the OPT application process, the timeline for applying, selecting employment dates, the OPT checklist, detailed instructions for completing forms, and how to obtain your OPT recommendation I-20. As mentioned in the OPT Basics tutorial, the OPT application process is a two-step process. First, F1 students who are eligible to apply for pre-completion or post-completion OPT must obtain a new I-20 with OPT recommendation. In order to receive this I-20, you must collect all application materials listed on the OPT checklist and make an appointment with an advisor at the Office of International Services. After you receive your OPT I-20, the second step is to mail all application materials to USCIS. It is important that USCIS receive the OPT application within 30 days of the issue date of the I-20. USCIS can take up to 90 days to approve OPT, so it is important to apply as early as possible. For pre-completion OPT, you are eligible to apply 90 days before your proposed start date of employment. For post-completion OPT, you are eligible to apply 90 days before your program completion date until 60 days after your program completion date, which is the end date on your I-20. Again, USCIS can take up to 90 days to approve OPT, and it is not possible to expedite OPT processing. To apply for OPT, you need the following items: the LaSalle OPT recommendation form, a completed Form G1145, a completed and signed Form I-765, photocopies of all previously issued I-20s, including those from other institutions, a printout of the electronic I-94 record, a photocopy of the passport biographical page or pages, a photocopy of the F1 visa stamp and all previously issued visas, except Canadian citizens, a bank check or money order for $410 US, made payable to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, 2 color U.S. passport-sized photos, a photocopy of previous EAD cards or change of status approvals if applicable. Finally, a cover letter is optional. A sample letter can be found on the employment page of the Office of International Services. Please note that this letter will be required if you cannot locate any documentation on the checklist, such as previous I-20s, EAD cards, or change of status approvals. All of these items can be found on your OPT application checklist, and we will now go into detail about these forms. The first item is the LaSalle OPT recommendation form. This form is needed to tell the advisors at the Office of International Services the OPT dates you have chosen. Please download the form from the website, complete it, and print the form. On the form, you will indicate the dates you request employment authorization. When selecting dates for pre-completion OPT, you may choose any dates you wish to start and end your employment. You may work part-time for up to 20 hours per week while school is in session, and more than 20 hours per week during the summer or official school breaks. For post-completion OPT, you may request a start date that is any day between the day after your graduation date and 60 days after your program completion date. For example, if your program end date is May 18, the earliest possible date you may request to start employment is May 19, and the latest possible date is July 17. Please refer to the OPT application timeline guide on the website for the most accurate dates. When selecting a start date, you should consider the time that your application is submitted. Remember, it takes USCIS up to 90 days to approve OPT and send your EAD card. You cannot start working until you receive your EAD card. It is also important to note that you may not accrue more than 90 days of unemployment during the 12 months you are on OPT. If you do not report a job within 90 days of the start date of your OPT employment authorization, your OPT and F1 status will end and you must leave the U.S. immediately. The end date of your OPT should be 12 months from the requested start date if you have not used OPT during your program. So for example, if you choose an employment start date of May 19, 2015, your end date should be May 18, 2016. It is important to note that you may not change your OPT dates once you have submitted your application to USCIS. The next document you need to complete is Form G1145, the e-notification of application petition acceptance. This allows you to receive an email or text message notification with your receipt number for your case when your application is received by USCIS. You can follow the link to the form from the OPT checklist. Download and complete the PDF form, then print it. Next, you will complete Form I-765, USCIS Application for Employment Authorization. You should follow the link to the form from the OPT checklist. Download and complete the form, then print. Your signature is required on this application. Do not provide an electronic signature. Rather, you should sign and date the application in blue ink after you have completed and printed the form. Many students have questions regarding the I-765, so please refer to the OPT tutorial guide to completing the Form I-765 for detailed instructions on completing this form. Next, you will need to print your electronic I-94 record by following the link. You will be directed to a page where you will enter your biographical information and passport number. Once you submit, you will be taken to your electronic I-94 record. You should be in F1 status with the admission until DS. Print this page. You will also need the I-94 number and travel information to answer questions 9, 12, 13, and 14 on the Form I-765. As part of the OPT application, you will need to provide a money order or bank check for $410 US made payable to the Department of Homeland Security. Remember to sign the check. You will also need 2 official color passport-sized photos. On the back of each photo, you should write your full name, I-94 number, and SEVIS number in pencil. Put the photos in a small envelope and paper clip it to the application. Do not staple them to the application. For your OPT application, you will also need to collect a copy of the identification pages of your passport, a copy of the F1 visa and all previously issued U.S. visas, except Canadians, a copy of all I-20s ever issued, including from other schools. Please copy page 1 and the travel signature page of each I-20. a copy of all previously issued EAD cards, front and back, if applicable, and a copy of change of status approvals, if applicable. When you have collected all of the items on the OPT application checklist, please contact the Office of International Services to set up a 30-minute OPT appointment. Bring the originals and one photocopy of all items on the OPT checklist. A cover letter to the application is optional, but it is required if you cannot locate I-20s, previous visas, or EAD cards. Please refer to the sample letter on the Office of International Services website. At the appointment, you will be issued a new I-20 with OPT recommendation. You will keep the original and mail the photocopy of this I-20 along with all application checklist materials to USCIS. For further instructions, please refer to the OPT application tutorial, Mailing Your Application to USCIS.